light blinking, it's recording, so we're recording right now.
Right. Well,
Oh! He got him a buddy, yeah. Maybe he ain't got no chiggers on him, so. All right, y'all, we're sitting there talking a little bit. Welcome back to 18 Outdoors. Got Mr. James Mccay, Mr. North Alabama big buck killer. You know, one of the most consistent people I know. He's the most consistent out of the specific areas that we hunt for taking big bucks. And last year, you know, we had a rough season with a mass crop, and everybody thought, well, since we didn't have a big mass crop, deer been running everywhere looking for acorn. Well, that's not the case. Anyway, no. You spent 30-something days?
35 before I shot the first and 36 before I shot the second one.
35 sits, actual hunting sits.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, that's a lot of dang sits. And that was from October 1st into so you didn't shoot one until the first week of December?
No, December, I think it's the 15th and then the 16th.
So a lot of people would have caved in, because you passed up a few bucks before that, right? So.
Yeah, it was a lot of smaller bucks. There was one questionable there right around Thanksgiving week that was a good solid 6. I mean, he was a 7, but he had a crab claw. I mean, right there at the end, it was, but anyway, I was second guessing, because he's probably 15 and a half, 16 on the inside. Good mass, but
gun or bow?
Oh, it was a rifle. But he comes so close, I could have shot him with a bow.
Wow.
I think. But it was
that.
grunting and trotting and stopping. I don't know if I could have got it done or not.
Yeah. And Jamie's like, I've got to go like 3.5 and older, you know, and try to be 8 point, you know, at least with ears, width of his ears. But you're looking for almost next level, like.
Yeah, I want it be almost questionable if I want to mount it or not. But every now and then you slip up and shoot something that, you know, you're still happy with what you shoot. You might, but that's mainly what I'm looking for.
Biggest, mountain, wall hangers. So,
yeah.
And he does. I mean, he's very consistent now. So that one, 136 or something like that. So.
132 and 4/8, I think. So it's been a while.
So all right. So we're ready for bow season's coming up. We're going. You know, the biggest thing we want to talk to you about today is, you're kind of like me. Whenever you start bow hunting, you got them main antlers on your mind. So how you start your strategy out early season bow hunt for the mature bucks all the way up until the rut. Just basically describe how you're gonna do your whole season. What your plan is. Do you got set areas already picked, or are you gonna do? I know you're big on in-season scouting, and the other thing you're known for is you've got a trail system. You hunt trails, you know, you've got that figured out, and you stick with that. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna hunt trails early season, but I'm gonna still look for the right acorn trees. There's a couple ridges I've already picked and had picked out for last year, but with our acorn crop, it kind of got squished, but it was still a doe, and a yearling liked hanging out on it. But I'm gonna go back and bow hunt it again, because
this is a ridge system. Is it like isolated oak trees, or just a whole ridge full of acorns?
No, it's a finger ridge. It's got a trail on it, and I run a camera on it, and it told me what I'd seen in the past, because somebody's dogs run a good buck, and he busted a creek, and I watched him run up. I thought, man, if that's really the way they're traveling. It was one particular buck, or bucks that traveled through. I was wanting to see if there's two ridges right in there, 2 finger ridges, and I was wanting to see which one they was going up. And I seen the one run up it, and I wasn't sure. And then after season the year before, man, that ridge was covered up and dropping. I thought, man, I may be missing out on some good bow hunting here. And for a south wind, you ain't gonna find nothing no better, because to get in there to it, it's on the back side of a good thicket. And I'm walking down in the main bottom, and I'm looping and coming up, and I'm climbing a ridge. Man, you almost have to grab stuff to pull yourself up it, but it's straight up, so I ain't got to worry about crossing over no path of what deer's traveling. And that's why I'm taking it. It's a rough get up there, and you have to stop maybe twice going up it to take you a breather. But as soon as I get to the top of it, I'm finding me a tree. Well, I got it pinned, but as soon as it crests over, there's a tree right there. And then it ain't far. The trail that they're traveling is right in behind you, about 25, 30 yards. But there's good white oaks, maybe a red oak or two right there on that. Not really, it's a knob leading back down off to the creek bottom, but that's, anyway.
Is that trail on top or on the military crest part, or
No, it's running right down the top.
right down the spine of the ridge?
Yep.
Wow. You'll see bucks using that.
I hadn't got a chance to hunt it. I mean, this was gonna be new me last year to pick up and bow hunt it, and I seen the does, but they just didn't really travel a whole lot last year.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that picks back up. That's one of the bow hunt strategies I know I'm gonna slide back on this year.
I know. I talked to Tony, and he was saying what acorns he looked at this year. It was kind of spotty. You know, he said there's acorns, but it ain't every tree. It's kind of a mixture, and that, you know, that could be, you know, better than, you know, just a full bore acorns everywhere. So
Yeah, I think I'd rather have it spotty. That way you can find what acorn trees are dropping, pinpoint them a little bit better.
yeah,
Cause I think it was year before last, I have never seen a mass crop like that, and you couldn't really pinpoint
It was
nothing.
awful. There's acorns everywhere.
So,
But hey, I couldn't complain about that year. But yeah, there's acorns. There's acorns and pine thickets. The last year, what, you know, no acorns, no
no,
hickory nuts. So, but and those people said they found a
Well-
few acorns in places. You know, it had to be a different part of the region or something. I guess just depending on how the frost was or.
early bow season, I was searching hard, and I found a white oak that was dropping acorns out in the middle of a cutover. And the first day I bow hunted, I sat from daylight to dark. I had one small deer sometime that morning run through the cutover. Didn't come to that tree, so I don't know if I bumped deer going in, but I sat from daylight to dark, and it was squirrels running up and down that thing all day long. And then the following weekend, I said, I'm sliding back in there. It's the only place I know had acres.
Mm.
Went in there, nothing.
Wow.
They had no more squirrels come up. They got everything. I mean, it was done.
They done told them up. So even early season, you'll make all day sits.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's that's dedication right there.
There was a couple rubs, and I was like, man, if I'm gonna get a good buck, and that's the only one had acorns, I felt like it'd be a good deer in there.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is sit in there with him all day.
Right. Well, so this year, you know, it looking like we're gonna be, you know, decent amount of acres. So I've asked this same question with Tony about, you know, white oak versus red oak, and he didn't even mention anything about, you know, red oak. He said chickapin and white oak as his two favorite for the deer or persimmons. So which kind of acorn do you prefer as far as bucks or just deer hunting?
I used to be just straight up white oak guy, but now after 2 or 3 years ago, what I've seen out of the red oaks, man, and they seem like they don't make like the white oaks. I think when they do make, because there's one particular area, it hadn't made a red oak in 2 years, and if it makes, I'm gonna slide back in because, man, it seemed like when you walked through there, the sign started, and the sign was only right there when you left them big red oaks in that one area, because they was pretty thick, and the sign lay, I mean, wasn't there.
Well, I've read up a bunch on acorns and stuff, and well, I understand red oaks, it takes 2 years for them to grow and mature out before they drop. Where a white oak is a one season thing. They'll start in the spring and drop, so that might be part of that red oak thing. But them red oaks that's got the black stripes in them,
That's the one I'm talking about, the little black bark slick.
yeah, them dang bucks. I think the bucks like them, you know, where we hunt, you know, more, or they might not like them more. They just know that there ain't as many competition for them or something. I don't know, but I've seen. It appears to me I've seen bucks, you know, prefer that to an extent, but them white oaks, you know, to me, over the years I've kind of seen is like there's certain white oak trees that they always check, you know, that's preferred. You know, Tony will say something about limestone runoff. He thinks that has something to do with some of the white oaks and some of the reasons the deer might like them. But it seems to me like deer always look at certain trees first and then move on. So I don't know if it's just the way they know they drop before other ones. If it's on, like you would think, the way so we're on the southeastern side, wherever the acorns are, far when the sun comes up, and then the tops will drop. You think the tops will drop first when it's cooler than the bottoms next, or is it just area specific?
I never really thought about it. Now there's one area, and it may be the way the rain comes across. Man, it's always loaded with acorns, and it's kind of on the it'd be kind of on the south side, and man, it's always acorns in there, and they always drop good.
Yeah. Most of the time, the red oaks, you don't hardly see them in the bottoms, or I don't. Either more on the sides or on tops. So
yeah.
So, and one thing about red oak, when the leaves start dropping, them red oaks hold them leaves for a long time, so you can kind of pick them out when you're scouting, whatever, and go to them and check for acorns. That I don't know what it is about them that hold them leaves, grab on into November a long way. So you think so? I noticed you talk about accessing from the bottom, for that specific, ridge system. You prefer accessing from the bottom to get up to majority of the time when you're hunting a ridge trail, or is it just?
Well, if you hug the top, they're bedding up there. I didn't want to bump them, and the trails keep me from crossing any of the trails that I know of. That's why I come from the bottom. I'm mainly trying to enter without either spooking, bumping, or crossing any trails. So if I have to come across the top, bottom, that's mainly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I prefer to try to do it from bottom or wade water, or something like that. But it's always the least way I can get in there, and least intrusive way. And
right.
And me and Tony was talking about this. You go in and out the same way, or you go in and out a different way.
A lot of times it's the same way.
Just least intrusive. So now when so we're early season, you're still hunting your trails, but it's trails and areas. Being that we've talked about this, like you've learned your area. You got prime areas you've learned over the years, like past 10, 15 years, whatever. So you've learned where your acorn trees are, the acorn ridges, and so when you go to hunting, you're just specifically hunting trails that's around them feed trees and stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in between them and bedding areas, and then doing that early season. But when it get over on close to the rut, I move back over to where I know where the does are hanging out and try to catch them in between it, and good heavily trails there.
You prefer most of your trails you're talking about, these are upper parts of the ridges.
Yep.
So they like beaten trails, or just slight trails, or more the trails are like 2 or 3's coming together. You got a specific strategy on your trails like that, or is it just the freshest? Is it active scrapes or rubs in the area make you hunt a specific trail, or what sign actually says, all right, I've got to hunt this trail? So.
Probably hunting it over the years so many times. They're producing. There certain bucks ain't gonna. There's one I'm trying to find. Been trying to find him, and I don't really run my cameras through the winter. I do, but he hadn't come across them until season's over, and I looked and I thought, man, should have been there. But no, it just that one area.
Just historical.
Yeah, you don't really find 1 or 2 scrapes in through there. I mean, it's very deceiving place. If it hadn't done so good for me, I might bypass it, but for me, it's actually done pretty good, because if you're looking for buck sign, you wouldn't even hunt in there.
Yeah. Well, I know you're big on in-season scouting. So what makes you is it because you're not seeing deer that you decide to move and do some in-season scouting, or is it you're second guessing yourself and need to go do in-season scouting? What makes you? Like I say, I know I hear you talking about you do a bunch of in-season scouting.
Yeah. Now, if they ain't laying the sign down, I don't feel like it, and they probably there, but if I feel like they're not there, or if I ain't finding no droppings, or I make several sets and I ain't seeing nothing come through, well, I can't say that, because I've made a bunch of sets, and I'll stick, if it's my prime areas, whether I see anything or not, I'm gonna hang to them. But
and that's another thing that the people we're talking to, y'all watching, this is Alabama, and this place is not as populated a deer population as a lot of other places in the state, so me and him and Tony were talking about the same thing, is you gotta give them a chance.
Yeah.
And they just, big bucks are funky about how they move, when to do daylight, and doe groups are always kind of spread out, so it might take 4 or 5 days, or it might take more than that. And plus, if the doe group's there somewhere, it could be a outlier buck come from 4 to 8 miles away, come check it out. So
something you ain't never even seen.
Yeah, and that's so when you do say, all right, I don't feel it, whatever. So you get down and do some in-season scouting. Are you looking for buck droppings? Are you looking for rubs, or just a multitude of things to make
just buck sign in general. You might find a little small rub here or there, and then stumble upon a scrape, and it's like, man, he's in here right now. I'm gonna hang in here with him for a little bit and jump around. And I do a lot of jumping early season, but it's jumping on stuff that I've been around before. But
I noticed something you talked about a little bit more this past year is even early season. You like trying some rattling.
Oh yeah, man, early season, right around 1st of November. I've done it last year and this year, real successful for that week of muzzleloader with rattling. Now I hadn't nothing come up that you'd want to shoot, but I'm seeing bucks, probably 7, 8 point. It's probably the biggest I've seen, but come right up to your tree.
Wow. They come trotting in or just walking in, or?
Walking in.
Wow. Now when you're rattling, you tie it in with some grunts or snort wheezing or anything, can calls, or? I don't remember right now. Just whatever you felt like?
Yeah.
Now how aggressive are you getting rattling?
No, I'm not trying to break them like you would during the rut. It's just mainly tickling at times. It's more of just sparring, hitting them, grinding, and then I'll take them, because the set I got was set I found there in turkey season. It's like probably got 120, 130 inch deer. You wait till dead with them. But I'll pull them big tines out, and when I get, I'll just rake them, and they'll have kind of like a tickling sound. And every now and then I might get a little bit more aggressive, but not too aggressive.
And so you're using 120, 130 inch set of horns.
Yeah, it's a little aggravating carrying through the woods, strapped in your tree stand like that, and then trying to get them up there with you, and it's like, man, it's a little aggravating, but it's hard to leave them at the house when I'm wanting to go rattle.
Yeah, I carry them with me a lot. Sometimes in October I don't really carry them, but when it gets closer to Halloween, I'll carry them with me. And then I'm not big on blind calling because I can't hear that good. And now if I see one that's skirting away, and if I can't turn him with a grunt, or he don't act like he's hearing it, I'll tinker him. And then I did kill one this past season rattling, but I felt like I heard a squirrel doing something that to do whenever they see a deer come walking through, and thought I might have heard something, so I tried it, and it was successful. But that's the first good one, older buck that I've in what years I've been hunting, have it been successful. I've got busted a couple times because they get downwind of me, so hear a racket, see a tail hopping off, and know that it was dang good because he didn't blow. But
now, I don't think I've ever rattled that I could see to bring in. I've always grunted or can call and brought them in.
I've grunted several of them in. I've had some associated with a can call, but I didn't know if that's, didn't see them, and they're just doing them blind, and a little while later one come up. So you done some scent stuff this past season too that you kind of felt good about, right?
Yeah, that native scent. I can't remember if it was the war party or which one it was, but I'll just be honest. I've been real skeptical of using scent for years. Cause I've used it either if you use a drag rag, a doe will pick it up, man, and she'll follow you to the tree, and she won't leave until she finally picks you out. And then some tinks, and I've had somebody say, man, I've had him come up and stick his nose to the bottle. Guy I used to work with killed a good, I think it was a 9 point that way, I've never had that, but this year with that native, I put it out, and I used a little mister, bringing it, putting in some of the scrapes walking down, and then the water, the bluff run off. Man, right there at dark, he come down the trail. Well, not dark, but he locked up. He didn't go no further. Boy, you can tell he's sniffing in there, and he walked about all the way back up at bottom. So the next hunt is when I used it and I killed the big 8. I don't know if it's a combination of putting out the scent mixed with grunting and canning, brought him up through there, but all I know is he come through there.
I used to do drag rags, but I'm like you, I don't want anything trailing me to the tree, cause I've had that happen several times. Doe, young buck, whatever, they trail you to the dang tree, and then they lose it, and they'll come circle around, then they'll come back 4 or 5 times, you know. That might help it might help you sometime or another, but most of the time they gonna end up picking you off and making some kind of noise that you don't feel comfortable with just a bunch of hopping, jumping off, and the doe and things, sometimes they'll start blowing it. But I've never felt real, you know, I don't do that much anymore now, but the misting scent, I'm a big fan of misting. You know, if I'm going somewhere and about say I get within 100 yards of where I'm hunting at, if there's a decent breeze blowing, I just one little squirch, just let it drift.
I've done that.
I don't believe about leaving a bunch of it out. I think you can get too strong with it. So then once I get up in the tree, you know, and get situated, I'll do a mist. And if the wind blows or changes, you know, I'll do just a light mist every couple hours or something. Again, I don't want to overdo it, because their noses are way good. They can pick that stuff up, and I've killed several coming up lip curling, you know, smelling it. So and I use a combination most of the time of a dominant buck and a doe in heat. So, and that's just me, you know. I don't hang bottles up anymore or anything like that like I used to. So
I had luck. You've hunted long enough, like the rest of us. Have a young buck pestering a doe that she ain't really in yet.
Yeah.
And man, she'll go through the woods, she'll blow. Well, it was actually one of the muzzleloaders hunts. I had one doe, man, she browsed around all morning. And then another one come up, man, she finally winded me. She blowed a couple times, bounced out. I just grabbed that grunt, man, and I rah, like a good buck, just really wearing it out. Man, I had a 8. I know it was a young 8 and something else come in, maybe a 4-point.
wow.
But they heard that grunt after, you know, because if it was a young buck up there, that's the only thing I was trying to imitate. A young buck, that doe blowing and bouncing out, young buck probably pestering, and a good buck come in there really just grunting. And
that's a good tip. You know, when you have something like that happen, don't be scared to do something like that. And you know,
yeah, because you're not gonna bother them. Yeah. I mean, it's native to them, yeah. And just don't get carried away and do too much. But that aggressive grunt right behind a good doe blowing off.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, using that doe blowing and try to tie it into, let the other deer that's in the area know that she's blowing at a younger buck, or it could be, you know, one in heat and some action going on, and they just curious and come on in. So that's just an extra thing to do to bring them in. So that's a good point. So that's a pretty cool strategy. So because you never know. Like I've seen does blow at some of the craziest things. You know, and I've seen them blow at each other. You know, and I had a group of does one time come up, and one of the lead doe got by me, and the other one, I didn't know was back there. Done seen me or something, and they wouldn't come by for nothing. That lead doe kept stomping her foot and blowing finally till she made them walk by me, and they knew I was there and come on by. So sometimes, you know, they'll blow at dogs and other deer and, you know, coyotes or whatever. So you're not always, don't let it worry you or scare you to think that they're blowing specific at you. It could be a number of things, you know, going on. So if now say, you know, like late season, usually do you change any tactics up, or you move to another area? You know, Alabama, we got the multiple ruts. You know, I know you'll go to another place around Christmas sometime, but say after that, January, February, do you do any kind of late season style of hunting, or are you still trying to chase the rut stuff?
Still trying to chase the rut. That's your best chance of seeing one.
I'm a big believer in that too. So, you know, I've known some people, you know, there's one guy here the last couple of years that's been, you know, been very successful late season hunting in an area where he feels like, you know, he's learned these bucks core area, and whenever the rut's over with, they come back to it, and he sneaks in there and sticks with it. So he has a lot of dry days. He'll go numerous days without seeing anything, and that's probably because he's in that actual bucks corridor and any other deer down there much. So has been successful. So I might try to talk to him sometime and kind of get some of that strategy, because I've never really done that besides of going somewhere and hunting a food plot late season. You know, I've done that, or some kind of crazy hot food source, you know, and not specifically a bucks, you know, core area, but, you know, sometimes late season a food plot that's still, you know, everything else is pretty much dead or whatever, and there ain't been much pressure, they'll sneak out there.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and lots of, sometimes they could be sneaking out checking on the doe or something, you know, if late ones coming in heat, so. Well, this has been a pretty good talk.
Oh, yeah.
Any other points? So, we done talked nearly 30 minutes, so I know you gotta get back to work.
Well, it went by quick.
It went by fast. You get to talking hunting. I mean, we can stand here and talk, you know, for another 3 or 4 hours if you want to, but I know you gotta go get up 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, 4 o'clock. 4, he gets up at 4 to go to work.
Oh.
Hey, I'm not going to work till Monday night. I'm fixing to get on a plane here in a couple of days, go see my Navy guys, my Navy buddies, and hopefully I'll live through that and make it back for deer season. You know, we haven't seen each other in nearly 40 years. So hopefully this video probably won't come out until after that fact. So, but anyway, we're fixing to do that. But tomorrow, I done sprayed some clothes down for Prometheum. I'm fixing to get out there. It's supposed to be raining sometime later on tonight and kind of cool off in the morning. But I got some stuff I need to get done. So camera batteries need to be checked, cards. I got some more cameras to try to put out, but yes, it's here and it's fast. So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as the older we get, time it's crazy. So seems like I ain't had time to do much this summer, which has been a lot of show stuff going on, which we've enjoyed all that. So it's been a crazy year, fun year, but man, it's going by fast. So.
It has, but I hope it slows down when I start climbing that tree. I gotta get me a nap.
Yeah, I get a good nap. So I'm ready to get out of this 100-degree weather and a nice cool breeze, just sit there and kind of doze off and wait for.
Oh yeah, I like hearing that. You never know what's a coming.
Boy, it will hurt you start getting nervous.
Early season, late season.
Yeah, it don't matter. It don't matter. It's been great talking to you. Appreciate it. And we're going to get out of here. Hey, I'll say it's time.